Number 6, x squared plus 3x minus 18. So in this one, you check for GCFs. There's not a number that goes into all three of those. And the x squared is negative, or not negative, so I'm good by not pulling them negative. So to get x squared, I would have an x and an x. I need a negative 18. So the options for a negative 18 are 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and 3 and 6. Now to get a negative 18, one of these has to be a negative. So in my problem, I'm going to have a positive and a negative. So to get a negative 18, one has to be positive and one has to be negative. Now be careful, just think about this. I need to put these numbers in these positions. I need to get a 3 in the middle. So looking at the combination of these numbers, I can easily get 3 out of this one. So that's the one I would gravitate towards for this problem. So let's put a 3 here and a 6 here. So x times x would give me x squared. 3 times negative 6 would give me negative 18. Now do your outer, which would be negative 6x, and your inner, which would be positive 3x, and I get negative 3x there. So I didn't get it quite right, but I got pretty close. So I got the right number, but not the right sign. So how do I fix that? Take my problem and switch all the signs. I'm going to fill that out just to check it. I'll get mine first and last, and then that would be 6x minus 3x, and this piece would go to 3x. So this would be the answer. Alright, so if I look at this one, there's no GCF that I could pull out. There's not an x that I could pull out, and the x squared's positive, so I'm good to just factor. So it's going to factor into two binomials. To get x squared, I would have x and x. And now I have to get a negative 30. So negative 30, I could use 1 and 30. I could use 2 and 15. I could use 3 and 10. I could use 5 and 6. To get a negative 30, one of these numbers has to be negative. So it could be 1 times negative 30 or positive 30 times negative 1. So what that comes to in the problem is over here I have to have a plus and a minus. And I could have put a minus there and a plus there, it doesn't matter. So now I just pick combinations of numbers that when I do my outer and inner, they're going to have to equal positive x. So think about if I have x and then one of these numbers, let's say a 1, and then I have a 30 and then an x. Is that going to give me a 1? So once you do a few of these, you're going to be able to eliminate some choices right off the top. So x times x would be x squared. Check your 1 times negative 30. You're good there. So the outer would be negative 30x, and the inner would be x. And that would be negative 29x. I'm not even close to 1. What happens if I switch these signs? Well, if I switch the signs and keep the numbers the same, this right here becomes a positive 29. So hopefully, if you have the choice between these three, I hope you would pick 5 and 6 at that point, because once you get the hang of these, you can see that that 5 and 6 is going to give me what I need. Just have to be careful where you place them. So if I put 5 and 6 here, x times x would be x squared. 5 times negative 6, that works for my last one. X times negative 6 would be negative 6x, and 5 times x would be 5x. Putting those together would give me negative x in the middle. Everything works except the sign. So I'm close, but I'm not exactly there, so all I have to do is change my signs. So I could write x minus 5 times x plus 6. Because all that does is make the bigger number positive, which will make this positive. So the x squared would work, the negative 30 on the end. your outer and inner terms would be plus 6 and negative 5x. Plus 6x minus 5x would be x, which is exactly what I need. So this is the factored answer. And for the last one. Alright, looking at this one, check for a GCF first. So if you look at 2, 8, and 42, there is a number that pulls out of that, and that would be a 2. 2 into this would leave me with the next, oh, I could not pull an x out because this has 2, this has 1, and this has 0, so I couldn't pull anything out. So pulling a 2 out of this would leave x squared minus 4x minus 21. So now once you pull a GCF out, you have to make sure that what's left in the parentheses doesn't go down any further. So if it's a trinomial or it has a 2 here as the biggest exponent, it could factor to 2 binomials. So ignore the 2 for just a second and think about just x squared minus 4x minus 21. To get x squared, I could have an x and an x. And to get negative 21, I could have 1 and 21 or 3 and 7. To get negative, one has to be positive and one has to be negative. My outer and inner terms need to add up to be negative 4x. So I'd hope you'd try this relationship first. If I put a 3 here and a 7 here, x times x would be x squared. 7 times negative 3 would be negative 21, which is what I need, because remember I'm just concentrating on this piece. Ignoring the 2 for right now. And then x times negative 3 would be negative 3x, and then plus 7x for the inner term. This would be a positive 4x. I need a negative 4x. So I did this almost right, but the sign's wrong. So instead of x plus 7, I'm going to do x minus 7, and then x plus 3. So to quickly check that, you'd have x squared, and negative 21 at the end, x times 3x, negative 7 times x. This would give me negative 4x, which is exactly what I need. So this is factors of what's in parentheses. Now I have to remember to bring that 2 down in front. So this is the factor